Hello everybody, this is the Wikstrand, so welcome to review number 400. This is a beautiful, magnificent, I hope, rosé wine from Australia. Do you know what is magnificent and beautiful and probably very tasty, which also comes from Australia? That's right, Chris Hemsworth. We are going to take a look today at my absolute favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie yet, and probably of all time. This is my review of Thor Ragnarök. This was good. Cast your minds back to 2017. Marvel was on their hot streak and they could do no wrong. They had beloved characters. They had movies that went from either very good to absolutely fantastic, and they were hitting banger after banger after banger. And the characters were beloved and we were interested in what was going to happen with them. Except for one character in my case, Thor. He was just some eye candy in, the background, and having, been in two of the lesser good Marvel movies. In my opinion, by the way, I think the first movie is completely okay, and the other one was memorable, but not quite as bad as people say it is. I actually think it is quite decent. So my expectations for the third Thor movie was not very high. I don't think I even have it on my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2017. By the way, a fantastic movie year. And I didn't know anything about this Taika Waititi, who was the new director. He had done some artsy-fartsy New Zealand movie or whatever. It's probably going to be fine, I guess. But then I went and saw the movie. And I knew in about 5 minutes or something like that, oh, they have done something completely new. Because one of the reasons why I didn't care that much about Thor was that as a character, he was a kind of stoic, uninteresting and serious, hothead or whatever it was. And the movies, were just your standard, crossover with other universes and stuff like that. And I was just, yeah. But they turned him from this stoic, warrior to this goofball who could still kick your ass. But the thing was that this movie is essentially, this is 130 minutes of Thor think that things will go according to plan. And it is absolutely hilarious. But let's get into the story, because the movie begins with, tying up a little bit of a loose ends from Thor: The Dark World, where, Thor comes back and takes back the kingdom from, the imposter Odin, which, in fact is Loki. In an absolutely fantastic sequence where, they recreate on the stage where Loki, died in Thor: The Dark World, and then they're off, to find wherever Loki has hidden Dad. But then he fancies away just when they have, talked to him a little bit. Then all of a sudden they invent a third sibling. I normally hate when, movies invent siblings just out of the blue, like, oh, we also have a sister that we haven't mentioned for, 2 Avenger movies and 2 Thor movies, but hey, that's fine, I guess. That wouldn't come up in a normal situation. The thing is that Hela is played by Cate Blanchett, and she basically crushes Thor's hammer, and then she sends them into, this, what is it, what was it, a dimension portal or something like that, where they get separated. And she goes into Asgard to take it over and claim it for her own. At this point in Marvel's existence, the most common criticisms of the movies were that they had lame, bad and uninteresting villains. That was about to change big time, because Cate Blanchett's Hela was absolutely amazing, and for my money the best villain that the Marvel Cinematic Universe had seen up to that point. Oh, fuck off with your James Spader in Age of Ultron. I thought it was a bland and boring villain, but that's probably just me. Thor ends up on the other side of the universe, on the trash planet of Shakaar, where he is taken as a slave by the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum. We'll get to him in a second. By the way, Jeff Goldblum doesn't like the term slaves, he prefers the term prisoners with jobs. I love that so much. Is Thor going to be able to escape Shakaar? Is he going to be able to beat the Grandmaster's champion, aka Hulk, who is, making his triumphant return after 2 years, after him escaping in that fighter jet in the end of Age of Ultron? And what is going to happen in Asgard? Hela has established her new, rule over the kingdom and stuff like that. What's going to happen? We shall see. By the way, the thing with Asgard is probably the only thing I don't like about this movie. It feels like a completely different movie that tries to, shoehorn itself into this much more interesting story about what happens in Shakaar, because holy shit, the things in Shakaar is just so fucking entertaining. Because they turned Thor from this, action-adventure movie to this space comedy. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It is just brimming with color, it's brimming with life, and it's absolutely stoked with energy. This is just such an entertaining, colorful, imaginative space comedy filled with colorful characters, hilarious situations, great humor, and a couple of really good action sequences to top it all off with. But the fact is that I could just have watched 2 hours and 10 minutes of Thor and Hulk being roommates and being, bickering at each other. That would have been enough, because there is so much joy in this movie. And there are just so many great characters, but maybe the best of them all is actually Grandmaster himself, played by Jeff Goldblum in his greatest performance of all time. And that takes in some great performances. He's just the right guy at the right time. My God, he was fantastic. I love all the small little details in the movie, and I love all those fun side characters. For instance, Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, is absolutely a delight to see. It could have been just a cliched, bitter character, but instead they made her into a rambunctious and constantly drunk lunatic who was angry at everything. I really hope, she doesn't devolve into some kind of a boring, statesman or something like that in a sequel. That would be very, very sad indeed. Oh no. It is just a fantastic space adventure and a roller coaster of an entertainment. The only thing that I thought didn't work quite as well is actually the things with Hela on Asgard, because with Heimdall fighting the oppression and stuff like that, it just reminded me of the most boring aspect of the previous Thor movies. One thing this movie does, which unfortunately is not the norm when it comes to comic books, is bring us into their world. Because the normal thing with comic book movies, and not just Marvel or DC, but almost every comic book movie, is that we bring the superheroes into our world. We bring them to New York City or Turkey or France or wherever it is, and they're running around in our world. Why can't we go into their world? And we get to do that. We get to go to Shakaar, we get to experience this fantastic place. Hell, I even take the sequences in Asgard because it is a different location. It is something we haven't seen before, and it makes these movies better for some reason. I don't want to see Iron Man, walk on the, Giza pyramids or something like that, because it's just our world where we have a different character. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But should you see this movie? Most definitely, because I think that this is the greatest Marvel movie that has ever been made. It's better than all the Avenger movies. It's better than all the, Iron Man movies or Captain America movies or Spider-Man movies or every movie that has been made in Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is easily better than anything that DC has made, since 2012. And the only thing that comes remotely close to it is probably, Avengers Endgame. But for my money, it's the best comic book movie that has been made since, 2012. I love almost every sequence in this movie. It has fun characters, it has a fun story, it is a great goofy space adventure, exactly what I want. The battles between Hulk and Thor, the escape from Shakaar, the sequence on the Rainbow Bridge where they play Led Zeppelin's Kashmir. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love this movie so much. The fun characters. We're not going to play Get Help. Somebody help me! The interactions between Thor and Valkyrie, the interactions between Thor and Hulk, or the interactions between him and Loki, or the rock monster, everything is just so great. And yes, some of the more dramatic things that happens in this movie is maybe kind of hurt by the goofy approach to this thing, but I'd rather take that rather than, this movie being bleak and boring and stuff like that. This movie does not have a boring minute in itself. This movie is just one of the most entertaining movies I have ever seen. This was very beneficial for Chris Hemsworth as an actor. It was even more beneficial for Thor as a character, because he became such a more rounded off character, because he could both do the goofy things and the serious things, and they kind of mesh together. And if you're going back watching Thor or Thor the Dark World, we'll just see, this boring ass stale character, but now he has been revitalized, and some people think that it is too goofy and doesn't let, the dramatic sequences, really sink in, and I can kind of see where they're coming, but I don't care. I just want to have a fun, goofy space adventure with Thor and Hulk and Valkyrie, and escaping from Shikar, from the Grandmaster and stuff like that. I just wish the Grandmaster could have had more sequences, because Jeff Goldblum was so fantastic in this movie. Man, almost everything worked gangbusters in this movie. And Shakar, it's one of those fictional places where I would like, to live in. I would like, walk around and have a spaceship and go and see Thor take on Hulk and stuff like that. It's just an amazing location, and I just wish the entire movie would have taken place there. Then we probably could have talked about this as the movie of the century maybe, but now it is simply the greatest comic book movie that's been made for 10 years. Thor Ragnarök bags a very easily 97 points. We have a fantastic fun villain, even though slightly sidelined after she takes over Asgard. We have great spectacular action, fantastic visual storytelling, goofy comedy, and everything in between. I just love this movie from top to bottom so much. So I'll see you next time from Well So and So Reviewing Well Such and Such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.